Today I'm going to be chatting with Chris Patterson about his UCC performance, thoughts that he had on the truck itself, the competition, and he's got a whole bunch of things he wants to talk about pertaining to diesel performance, what's holding it back, and some ideas he has as far as how we can get things back on track and make sure that the best trucks are out there performing, the stands are filled. So I'm definitely looking forward to chatting with him today and getting his perspective. Before we get to it, I want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors that help make the Diesel Podcast possible. The first is DMAX Store. If you've got an LB7 L5P and you're looking to make sure that the truck is running as good as it can, it's reliable, solid. If you're looking for a little bit more power, maybe suspension upgrades, make sure and head on over to dmaxstore.com. If you have questions about the build, what parts you should use, they're more than happy to chat with you guys. Just call 877 for my DMAX, and they're looking forward to being able to take their years of experience, expertise, and make sure you get the right parts, the right upgrades that you need so you can build your dream truck. Also, our friends over at Kershaw Knives have a 40% off code for you. If you use code TDP40 at kershaw.kaiusa.com, it's a great way to save some money and get some cool gear. So if you're in the market for a knife, for hunting, fishing, EDC, something around the job site, they definitely got you covered. They have a whole lineup of knives designed to meet really any budget. So if you're looking for a folder, assisted opening, different blade steels, blade shape, handle design, they definitely got you covered. So make sure you head on over to kershaw.kaiusa.com, use code TDP40, and get 40% off MSRP. All right, let's get to today's podcast with Chris Patterson talking about UCC and some major things he's seeing in diesel performance and some ways we can fix it. Chris, welcome back to the Diesel Podcast. I'm excited to chat with you today, kind of post UCC, chat with you about the experience, your trucks, the competition, and then talk maybe a bit more generally or even specific, kind of about diesel performance in 2024. Some really good insights that you have, some things I see from the outside looking in, and maybe forecast or kind of look towards the future. So welcome back. Look forward to chatting with you this morning.
Well, thanks, dude. I appreciate your time, and we love to talk about trucks, and that's a lot of what goes on down here in Texas. So we know a thing or two about it, and I'd love to talk to you today about it.
I really had a good time chatting last time we were talking about different upgrades for Dodge trucks, your affinity towards third gen 5.9s, and I know a lot of people really a lot of people really enjoyed that. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean UCC, I mean that's where your truck. I know you travel all over. People know you,
hmm
know that truck. What was it like
hmm
this year?
It was good. We had a great time. There's a whole lot of stories. There's a whole lot to talk about there, but this was our best year yet. We were the most prepared. Um, we made a couple driver mistakes that cost us a lot of work, but that's how things happen. And we had a really good time, even despite having a full day loss of rain delay. That was quite unfortunate, but guys were sleeping in the trucks during the rain and whatnot. And we bounced back and did the best we could with given the circumstances. But it was a really good time. I enjoyed it. It was a good year for us.
What would you say made it the most successful UCC trip? Was it a combination of a few different things like preparation, the setup, maybe the testing done prior to going to Indiana, or what made it the best UCC for you guys?
I would say it was the team vibe and the preparation that we put in before going. We had organized tools and parts. We had an organized layout area. We got to the event a whole entire day early, so we didn't show up behind the gun on anything. And that made a big, big advantage to us having everything prepared on time and being on time, being ready to show as soon as the show turned on.
Well, was kind of walk me through it, like take me back, like if I was there with you guys. I wasn't, but if I just try to think about what it was like going through the
Yeah,
different events, what things did you do as a team really well? How did the truck do really well? And then what areas were challenges or things that you had to overcome?
so everything did really well. It all started on my first drag pass. I got shuffled in the head right before we ran, and I kind of forgot my list of things to do mentally. There's a lot of going on at the staging lanes between one side of the truck and the other. And so I kind of got up there and I was a little flustered. And I grabbed two freaking kits of nitrous in second gear, like way too early. The testing we did at home, it was working, but it was hot and humid down here. And we went a week later to Indianapolis and the air was good and the turbos reacted and it made way more power on two kits in second than what I thought. So it spun the tires. Then it hooked up. When it hooked up, it blew the side of the transmission case out. Everywhere the second gear anchor for the band and strut and lever goes, it blew that whole chunk out for second. So, in my natural fashion, my first pass down the track, I oiled the whole thing down. And I got to see my favorite record driver, Heather. She picked us up, took us back to the pits for like the third time now at this event. And we put a trans in it, got it fixed up, and I think we found a pair of slicks. Or maybe we went out another one or two times to try it, and then we found a pair of slicks. So we upgraded our tire. We were able to hook up, and the best we managed was a 550 in the 8th mile. And we kind of settled there. That was second place in the whole drag race event. Kenny Burner had first place with a 529. So I wasn't going to be able to touch that. So we had to leave it there. And then we just started immediately getting ready for dyno the next day, which turned into a rain delay. So then we didn't do anything for like a day. We prepared as much as we could, but there was like an inch of water in our staging lanes and in the pits and everything. Like it was just saturated. It was horrible. So then we got through all that, and then we dynoed and sled pulled both on Sunday. And we had a major rain delay on the dyno as well. So there was a whole lot of drama right before the dyno, and then we did our normal thing, and then we went to sled pull and made it to sled pull with 10 minutes to spare. And then that's where we lost the whole thing. So we were in second in drag race. Life was good. Went into dyno, rain delay on the dyno day. And then we're in the staging lanes getting ready to dyno, and Maury explodes his engine. And I mean, the parts went right out the oil pan, like $100,000 DMAX motor gone in the dust right there. So that was a big bummer and a big delay. So we got all that picked up. And then Fancy Pants Greg A got up there and did his thing and then blew his motor to smithereens, his second motor for the weekend. And then the slicks blew out on the dyno, and there was rubber on the roller. So we had to clean all that crap up. And then, like 30 or 45 minutes after Greg did his thing, Ziegler burnt his truck to the ground at the end of the racetrack. And this all happened like an hour or two before we're supposed to dyno, and we're watching all this. And my wife just looks at me and she shakes her head. I'm like, I know. I don't know why we do this. I don't know why, but here we are and we're doing it. And I'm the next warrior to go up to the stands to see if I'm going to live or die. And then the first pull, we didn't have our nitrous turned on. I changed all about my nitrous program, and I forgot to hit the button on the Max 5. So it was in the fuel only tune. So it did 2,200 something fuel only. And then we turned on nitrous, and it wasn't coming up soon enough, quick enough. It was like a big turbo lag or a big delay. So finally, Cody on the dyno told me start it at this RPM. So we bumped it up like 1,000 higher than we normally start. And then it worked, and it made 3,000.4 even. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But we smoked the trans. So we got off the dyno, drove it off the dyno, drove around to the pits, backed it in. The guys instantly came over and started changing the whole entire transmission. I couldn't believe it. I didn't have to say nothing. I wasn't even out of my driver's suit, and there were guys getting ready to change the training. And then the most incredible thing happened I've ever seen as far as my team. We've always taken swag, and we've always had shirts for sale and all this, but it's never ever worked. It's been like $300 or $400 at these little events. There was a line around my tent to my swag. I'm not talking like 5 or 6 people. There was a freaking line that wrapped around this 30 by 40 tent. And people were in line buying my swag. It brought some tears to my eyes. I couldn't get the jacket off and all that crap fast enough. Went over there and sat down and signed pictures and shirts and let kids sit in the truck and talk to people about trucks. Craziest thing, we sold $2,500 in swag in an hour, completely sold out everything we took. And that was really cool to see the support and the camaraderie from the fans and people coming over and congratulating and talking and just wanting to see it, because it finally made the number on the dyno at UCC. So now it's officially 100% legit. I have made 3,000 horsepower and nobody can take it from me. So we can claim that title now. So that was really cool. And then we got a trans put in it, and we literally had an hour and a half to go from drag racing, or I'm sorry, to go from dyno challenge to sled pull. And we were pulling last in the sled pull heat because we dynoed last. Just with all the delays, the weekend was stacking up very quick. And then we went all the way to sled pull, and I made it to tech, and everyone was already out getting ready. And I rolled off tech and literally heard the first guy start up his engine to pull on the hook to the sled. I only got to see probably two hooks. So it was very unfortunate to be rushed and behind. And then I got in, got hooked up, and that stupid thing rolled out 45 feet and then slipped the transmission. It went 8 miles an hour. It didn't even break the tires free until the transmission started slipping. And that was pretty unfortunate. It is what it is. You only get one hit, but it was the transmission shift lever adjustment. We had it half in neutral, half in third, and we didn't even know it because we just put the trainee in within the hour and a half leading up to go from dyno to sled trim. So, in one hand, it's really cool that my product didn't fail. On the other hand, it's unfortunate that me and my team couldn't go over such a fine detail
Yeah.
like a shift lever adjustment. And that cost us the whole entire win for UCC 2024. We believe we had it in the bag. We had the same tune up that we won last year's sled pull with and put like 20 feet on them. And we had that. And we were going to duplicate that. But we missed one detail. But we hold our heads high. We went from second to fifth. We came home with a few checks. We came home with a running truck that we drove on and off the trailer. Like there's not much to be disappointed or upset. You can't beat yourself up too much. It is what it is. We did what we did, and the results are the results. So that's pretty much the sweet UCC talk that I have.
With I guess this will kind of transition it a little bit, like inadvertently, but when I think about how it's worked in the past, there was, one day was one event and then the next day, the next. So you had that time in between to be able to change the truck, the setups, because it's hard, from what I understand and talking with competitors over the years, to go from a truck you're drag racing to going on the dyno and the setup and the strategy you have for it, and then completely going the opposite direction and then sled pulling. So I think having to change that timeline all up, you probably would have caught some of those things if you had 24 hours or 18 hours or whatever it is to be able to go through it versus 90
Yeah.
minutes versus
Yes.
90 minutes.
Yes.
Yes. And I think you were chatting a little bit about the podcast. I don't know what you're going to talk about, but I thought it would be cool to just kind of use the conversation to understand more of what's going on in diesel performance, because if you're not in it, which I'm not, I just talk about it or talk to people who are in it. I have such a limited scope of what I see. And I think a lot of enthusiasts do. Like, we see things on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and we see the clips and the different stuff like that. But we don't really know what's going on. So I wanted to sort of turn over the podcast to you for a little bit and maybe get some of your opinions or some of your insights into where things are at in 2024, where you see it going. Are there things that competitors, enthusiasts, companies, events, sponsors, things like that need to pay attention to? What are you seeing out there?
Well, I'll try really hard not to get on a soapbox too much, because this is a topic that really works me up. But the diesel performance industry as a whole is so incredibly small, but yet there are so many cliques in it. There are groups that we all race diesel, whether we're just sled pulling, whether we're just drag racing, whether you just want to hit the dyno, whether you do one or two or you do all three. For whatever reason, we all can't sit down, talk, and agree on anything. You've got so many big names, and I don't know if you want to name drop all this stuff, but everybody pretty much knows that you got sled pullers. Well, they're all to themselves. They don't really talk to us. They rev their motors up really, really high and slip the clutch out and make their power, and it lasts for 30 seconds above 4,000 RPM. Well, that's pretty easy to do. And then you got like the ODSS side of drag racing, things in a series and points and multiple classes that fit multiple types of vehicles and multiple caliber of racers, and that travels kind of mainly on the East Coast. And then you got NHRDA, which is the legend that's been around forever, that does all three of these things and does have points and travels. And then you got UCC, which is one time a year, which of all of the diesel performance world, only 7 competitors finished this yearly event. I mean, I think that's kind of bullshit. How come there wasn't 20 or 30 trucks out there? And then who else you got? You got the All Truck Challenge, King of the Street group, Sarah and Matt. They're great. I've raced with them for a while, but they weren't at UCC or have a lot to do with it, and vice versa. And there's no crosstalk. And I don't know if anyone knows it, but this industry is dying very quickly, and not just diesel, but performance overall with the standards of what's going on in the government and where all of the agencies lie and what they see us do and what we're just screaming from the tops of the mountains about. Because we like to talk about trucks and we like to modify trucks and we like to spend money on trucks and time and make them better and blow them up and fix them. It's all illegal. So we need to draw together as a group and come up with something better than what we're doing, because inevitably it's just going to crash, die, and burn out. I kind of think that the future is unforeseen right now. And if we don't start getting our act together as a group, there ain't going to be no future in diesel drag racing or whatever, or diesel performance, period. So that's one thing.
I was just going to say that you got me thinking about something, because you're talking about groups not talking to each other. I see it as well, like when we cover diesel performance, there's a huge segment that doesn't care because they use their truck to tow or daily drive, or they're going for like the, 600,000 mile kind of, I want my truck to last. So like, I don't care about the turbo side. Or it could be the performance side doesn't really care to hear about, how do you make this truck live at 400 horsepower for, 5 or 600,000 miles. And the part where it all connects for me in covering this for 8 years is what you just mentioned with the pressures and the changes that have happened for, a long time, but especially it kind of seems like 2, 3, 4 years, maybe 5 years, with emissions pressure and what you can do to vehicles and all that sort of stuff. So it kind of, I guess it kind of shocks me, because I almost took it for granted. Like, I mean, we've covered it for a long time. Other avenues have covered it. Like, you kind of have to work together, because it's all being, I don't know what the right word is, enforced, attacked, scrutinized, looked at closely, whatever it is. So why wouldn't you cooperate or collaborate? It's probably a better word. If, changing a truck is something that's scrutinized, as heavily as it is.
It's tough. It's tough. It's like someone has to go out there and carry this torch, and someone has to go represent us and take the bigger approach for it. I feel like everybody's just fighting for the microphone, and there's only one microphone. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know. I'm not the person that's going to fight this. I'm not the person to lead all this. I'm just the guy that likes to blow his truck up. And then y'all have these great, big, huge challenges. It's not a race, it's a challenge. And I just go and do, and I see things, and it's just, why does it have to be this way? There's so much information in sled pulling about how to make things work, but they don't even talk to us. A matter of fact, there's groups where they talk bad about us at the events because they see our safety or they see our setup or our parts combination. And then the next thing you know, half the track is, laughing at you because you don't have this or that, or you do have this or that, or we're more concerned about ETs and mile per hours than we are about making a fire suppression system work, or how to actually kill the truck and it's stopped. Or, compressor covers are not enforced, and compressors blow apart all the time on these turbochargers. So it's kind of odd. We're all a bunch of heathens out here just doing things with no control and no communication on one another, but yet we're trying to slit each other's throats. So it's so crazy.
I think bringing attention to it is arguably as important as trying to solve it, because I don't get really strong opinions very often when we talk about this stuff. We have conversations about performance. It kind of just falls into the typical space and lineup that you think it's going to fall in, right? Nobody says this sucks, or we're not talking, or this isn't going
well.
to work.
There's a lot of things that you can say. That's right. You can say a lot of things suck, and just nobody has the balls to call them out.
Yeah.
Everyone just has to fix each other's crap to keep going. It's ridiculous. There needs to be a common table. There needs to be a meeting. There needs to be a roundhouse that, everybody can discuss things and improve upon things. There's so much more to this game. There's so much more technology that we need to learn and understand. It's something that needs to be considered. And like the events will do nothing but get better. Why don't we have a live streaming service at the Ultimate Call Out Challenge? This is supposed to be the biggest game that we all come to play once a year, but we don't even stream it live. And it's not just for the fans to see who's racing what and what's going on, because the track is hot. The track, we're fighting over this racetrack. Literally, it's a headbutt. And no one's there to showcase what is going on at this track that we're all fighting for. The only people that know what's going on, well, I can't even say this, but most of the people that know what's going on is at the track. Separate from the track, no one knows what's going on. Even the people at the track don't know what's going on. So if we had a person that could cruise around and interview the competitors at these events on behalf of the actual event itself, on behalf of Ultimate Call Out Challenge, that's what this is. It started as the Ultimate Challenge, that you were called out upon shop to shop, bring your best whatever y'all can build, and let's hoe it down. But we're not even talking about or showing it. You know, on one night, there was 4 different Dodge Diesel transmissions in the pits, not all in the same pit, being removed. It is this story. This was like 2:00 in the morning. This story needs to be told, and no one's out there saying it. No one's talking about what it takes to live through this 3-day of a gauntlet challenge or this endurance event. It's not a race. It's a strive to survive to the end. Just think that it could be improved upon a whole lot from what it is, because right now it's just a sideshow. That's the end of my soapbox on that for a little bit.
I think it's really important, because that's where the interest, I find, gets drawn in for a lot of people, or a lot of people like who listen to the podcast and they want different things talked about. And it's changed over the years, and I think maybe it's even generationally where I've seen the change. Like, it used to all just be about stats, like how fast did you go, what power did you make, what torque did you make, all that kind of stuff. And I find now a lot of people want to know about the story. So they're wanting to hear about the struggle, the challenges, which I think is kind of reflecting life in 2024 and the state of things. Like, people are looking to find inspiration in this stuff that this hobby that they enjoy. So where do you find that? So to me, it also feels like a struggle in that sense. Cause we've talked maybe 2-3 times on the podcast, and I think I kind of draw you towards like, well, tell me about the challenges, tell me about the things, because I personally find that's what I find interesting. That's really what I think, I can draw inspiration from. Like, I can take what you said about being at UCC, the transmission had an issue, you don't even get your fire suit off, and guys are working on it, and you see a line of people lined up to get your apparel. I can apply that to what I do. Somebody who does construction or real estate or any other business out there can identify with that. Can they identify with what it feels like to hit 3,004 horsepower? Probably not. Not many of us have something like that. But we can identify with your story and then go, well, I want to learn more about Chris. I want to learn more about Unrivaled Diesel. I want to pay attention more. I'm going to go to his page and I'm going to follow it. And I see a huge, major gap in auto performance, aftermarket performance, diesel performance. With that's one of the reasons we started the podcast, was like, talk about that stuff, because it's really cool.
Absolutely. And we love to talk about trucks as truck guys. That's all truck dudes want to do, is talk about their truck, how to make it bigger, better, faster, stronger, look better, handle better, whatever it is. And there are those stories, and I'm a storyteller myself. I love it. I love getting in with, the action and the whole line, because you can't make these things up. You literally cannot. Like, we put in a transmission that we had built down here as a spare virgin that's never seen horsepower, and had a brand new pump in it and had all the good stuff. And the new pump was defective. We fired it up at like 11 o'clock and it was whining and cavitating, and the pressure was all across the board swinging. And I'm like, man, what do we do? Do I tell y'all to pull it back out? Do we diagnose it? And so we started diagnosing it. And when it came down to bad pump, pull the tranny, they just pulled it out. And it's a team environment. It's a team effort with a shared goal of victory. And so we are going to continue to fight. And there's lots of us out there that fight, and lots of us love to talk about our trucks. It's just time that it's known and shared and broadcasted. I'm trying to do YouTube, and I've carried cameras and recorded and have tons and tons. Like, I think the dude said it was 300 gigs of content over the weekend or something like that. I don't know if that's a little or a lot, but He acted like it was a lot of content, and it's time to show it and tell these stories. We have to influence new people to get in the game in order to continue. We all get burnt out. I'm completely burnt out of this. I've been chasing this dream for 5 or 6 years, and I'm so tired of being in second place. I'm so tired of losing due to a common problem or an easy problem or a simple mistake that I made. So this story has to go on, and we have to get new people in, and you have to lay the foundation down for them, or else we're all just going to pitter away and die. All these top tier competitors aren't going to keep wanting to fight over this when there's only 5 or 6 competitors in the whole sport that see to the end of it. It's not as fun. Like, I want all my friends. How come we can't have 20 or 30 trucks at the Ultimate Call Out Challenge? It's just a drag race on Friday. It's just a dyno on Saturday, and it's just a sled pull on Sunday. I'm not telling you got to do all three in one day like we do down here, but you can make an effort. I don't care if you're an old competitor that's still running your trap on the internet talking about this and that. I don't care if you're a new guy just wanting to get in the game and get your feet wet. We're all a competitor, and all the points score the same. So any one of us have a chance at winning it, because you have to see it through to the end. So how do we do that?
Common question we get from you guys a lot is, hey, I need a diesel engine. I either, I can't wait this long to get one, or normal place I get stuff from it just takes too long, or they don't have the parts in it that I need. Maybe my truck's not stock, or I tow heavy with it. I don't want to go back with just a stock engine. DFC Diesel is a sponsor of the podcast. We worked with them, hand in hand on doing episodes, answering technical questions. They have a complete lineup of Cummins, Duramax, and Power Stroke remanufactured engines that are set to a standard of ISO 9001 2015 standards, which is a huge deal in the aftermarket. And there's certain levels of quality testing, validation that are required for that. So when you get one of those engines, the type of quality that's built behind it, with an industry-leading warranty that's really comprehensive. And the other thing with that is, sometimes the options that are out there, it's a basic OEM engine. You want a little bit more. You don't want to have the same failure again. So there's a bunch of different series of engines that they have, from core, street, tow haul, and also the Speed of Air series, which we've covered on the podcast before. There's a lot of really cool benefits to it. And if you have questions about that, reach out to them. If you don't know the type of engine that you're looking for, if you go to dfcdiesel.com, there's a ton of info there. You can send an email, or you can reach out to them. Also, they're working with Speed of Air pistons, which it's the only piston that pays for itself. And there's a lot of really cool technology behind it. So you can add that into your build and be able to get better fuel economy, increase power, increase torque, and better engine life out of it. Some of the most common engine applications or series of engines that they have with that lead time, a lot of them are in stock, or they have really short lead times. So you can check your favorite retailer, or go to dfcdiesel.com, check them out, see what's in stock, see what you can get. If you have questions, maybe you want to do something that's outside of the normal series of engines, they have tons of choices for rods, cranks, pistons, valve train upgrades, tons of different things. So if you're in the market, definitely make sure and head on over and check them out. There's so many directions to go. I think what you talked about with pulling new people in, that's really the key, and it seems tougher now than it was before. I'm not sure exactly when you got into diesel performance, or when you wanted to modify your first truck, but for me, it was, I saw a race, and it was at Bandimere Speedway, and it was not as big as UCC or anything like that, but a lot of companies came in from all over, and you got to see these trucks go. And I always thought of a diesel truck as just this loud, kind of obnoxious truck that towed a trailer to like job sites and stuff. I didn't know they could go fast. And that completely changed the course of my whole life. What I chose, what I've done for 15 years was just seeing that. And I don't know, it was probably like 3 or 4 hours at this thing. And so I think being able to deliver that to younger people, and then you run into a whole bunch of other challenges. Like, it's not as easy to just take a truck and go make 600, 700 horsepower, go have fun with it. Who has parts that you can buy and get shipped to you to do that with? Where do you get the money to maybe do it on an older truck? There's a lot of economic factors that go into it. And so I think if everything's very segmented and these groups don't talk to each other, and you kind of keep the knowledge hidden, which I really remember that even 15 years ago, that was a huge thing. it's kind of like after seeing how everything's unfolded over the last 5, 6 years, and the companies that either aren't here anymore, or the companies have had to change, or some of the like the episodes I've done with guys that have gone to prison for truck parts. Like, now's the time to kind of think about this, because where's your future customer base coming from? Where are the future people who are going to go sit in those stands? Where are the future people who are going to listen to this podcast? Where are the future people who are going to call you and say, "Hey, Chris, I need a turbo transmission, and hey, I want a set of those traction bars that I heard you talk about once."
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do we find those people? How do we do it? That's the million
I
dollar question.
agree.
I don't have the answer to, but that's the
But
question.
at the same time, maybe now is the time, because every Dodge diesel, I don't care if it makes 300 horse or 3,000 horse, every Dodge diesel is going to need a transmission.
Yeah.
So these people are already getting built trains. It's not a big deal at all for someone to have a $10,000 transmission on their daily driver. And then after that, they're like, well, I got the transmission. How much is a set of 625s, a 400 swap, and 100% overs? It's like, oh, well, now you got a vehicle you could compete with. Now you have something that would run sixes or faster, or that could pull 300 feet, or that could dyno 1,000, or whatever it might be. So it's so easy to get into it as well. It doesn't have to be top tier. It could be just starting with the work stock class and sled pulling. But these other competitions you can still go do, like NHRDA. They have pulls and dyno and drag racing at the same track on the same weekend, multiple times across the nation, even up in Canada. So the options are very vast. And I think that people need to start considering doing that. And more people need to consider putting a hitch in their drag truck that already makes 2,000 horse. It's not that hard. It's just sled pulling. It's some tires, a box, a hitch, and some suspension mods. I just don't know why more people aren't trying to come win this event, or do good in this 3 segment event. It's the ultimate. There's none higher, but they all have a comment about horsepower, or about weight, or about ET. But then none of them really sled pull. So it's just so funny. It's just so funny.
Do you think, well, if you could make like three things happen, you could just snap your fingers and to address this issue, what three things would you just make happen like instantly to try to help the collaboration in the performance side work better for not just the competitors, but then the people who are watching, the people who are going to do this one day or are going to spend money on doing it? What would like three things be?
Well, since we're talking about UCC, I would obviously say focus on that event only, and maybe that's the only thing that needs to happen is the ultimate call out challenge. And then we need to live stream like almost 24/7. It could be shifts of dudes. It could be a still camera on the racetrack all day with a dude out running around in the pits, like a screen and screen situation. It could be someone staying at the pits, even a competitor that can video or have a person to video that captures the nightly pit content. And then I think we could change the structure of UCC. I think, like on drag race, instead of your best time trial, that's your score, your fastest ET is what you get. Because that's like you're not racing anybody. You're going out there trying to rip your truck up as fast as you can. What if that was changed to like qualifying was the first round, and then you get one qualifying pass and immediately go into a qualifying ladder and run rounds after that? And it's a real drag race, round for round. One time trial or qualifier, and then you verse in a ladder. And then on the dyno, you get 20 minutes or 3 swings, and then maybe 2 sled pulls, one hook, and then bring them back around, go to your pits, take an hour and a half to turn it around and do another heat. That would bring another level of competition that's unforeseen, because it is possible to go out there and drag race on Q1 and run the fastest pass ever, and then bring it back to the pit and immediately start rebuilding it for dyno, and go up to dyno and swing one time and make a decent number, and then bring it back and convert it to sled, and then go down one time. So that can happen, but it would like kill the truck. But what if it showed more endurance to do 3 rounds of drag racing and at least 1 pull or 3 pulls, and then 2 back-to-back sled pulls? That would show endurance for a transmission, an engine, a driver, a team, all the chassis setup, and it would level the playing field where there's more opportunity to make points. And if you had more competitors, you had live stream, and you had more racing to actually capture on the film for the live stream, it can fix itself as far as this event. It would make points a little bit more complicated, but it would be a hell of a lot more fun as a competitor. Way more fun. Because then you actually know if you turn it all the way up and blow your crap apart, but you have to go into round one in an hour and a half, are you really going to turn it all the way up? Or are you going to live with a manageable number for the first round to live through the first round and then turn it up in drag racing for the second round because they're going to be faster? Then it would be a lot more, it'd be a lot cooler to watch and a lot more entertaining than one hit wonders of just trucks running down one side of the drag strip one at a time. So that's just my opinion. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like that, but that's what I see as a competitor. It would be a lot more fun.
I think a key part with that, though, is the perception from the stands, right? Because unless they follow you or they listen to this podcast or other ones you've done or anything on social media, are they going to know some of the struggles you had or maybe some of the other competitors had? Or are they sitting up there and going, like you mentioned in the beginning, why don't 20 to 30 trucks finish? Why is it this number?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're trying to pull these people in to say, hey, you're passionate about these trucks. You love this stuff. You don't have to go build 3,000 horsepower. Maybe you just want to do ET stuff or do whatever
That's
it
right.
is. But you only see 5 or 6 or 7 finish out of however many are there. Like
That's right.
it wouldn't encourage me to go do that because I think,
No.
I don't want to blow up my engine like that, or I don't want this to happen. And I think perception is a major thing that's been missed. So I kind of almost see two parts to this. Like I see what you're telling me as a competitor and ways it can help you. And then I'm also thinking, what about the spectator? What is the perception of this
Mm-hmm.
or any other event? It could be anything that's out there. And are they scared of it? Do they want to invest in it? Do they want to invest their time? Or do they say, oh, hey, there's a way to do this. And look, this guy drove it on the trailer to head back to Texas or wherever they might be going, whoever the competitor is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I could see it can be done right. And I think that's a major thing that's missed. And it's kind of unfortunate because I know what gets the clicks and the views and the stuff is like an engine failure. It'll have hundreds,
Yep.
thousands, sometimes millions of views, on YouTube shorts or something like that. But what perception is that showing? Not just even to enthusiasts, but people just randomly coming across it on any of these social media platforms, and you think, oh yeah, I've heard this stuff about diesel, they're dirty and they pollute and all this stuff, and oh wow, look, the engine explodes everywhere, or this happens, and those things, it's just, I don't want to get involved in that. Like, look at it, it seems dangerous. Like, it's all about perception on so many different levels outside of even competition.
It is. That's all true. People love engine explosions. They love destruction. They like that more than victory. And I can't comprehend that. How can a guy go up there and make 3,000 plus and blow it up and then yank it off the dyno and get more attention and more cheers and more claps for a guy that does 4 pulls, does 3,000 and drives it away? They have lost focus on what is really impressive and what's just ignorant. And it's quite unfortunate, but I still think that if you had those people doing the live streams, if you had people out there interviewing in the pits, and then you come up to me as an interviewer announcing live at UCC, not just for the live broadcast, but announcing it over the PA at the event of, you just did 3K, what's next, or what happened in the sled pull, you only did 45 feet. Like, you have to integrate that, and we need that role, and that's going to keep people in there. And then if we get to race more than just time trials between the other dudes, then it'll keep the stands packed that way as well, because it's more like a challenge or an endurance event. It is not just a race. This is a drive to survive. If you include the competitors more in the storyline, it could get way better. That's my opinion. But I don't know why people love explosions. Nobody wants to see an explosion. You know how scary this sport is?
Yeah.
Like, I legit wore a bulletproof vest on the dyno, and I walked over and hugged her and kissed her goodbye and hoped that nobody saw me crying behind my sunglasses, because you don't know. At any point, that whole thing could erupt, and it could be an overdrive housing hitting me in the head. It could be shrapnel from the block hitting me in the chest. It could go a wrist pin into the crowd, into the stands, into the pits. It is insane. insane. And there's no comprehension of that. But man, do those photos look good when there's shit flying everywhere. I mean, it's a good looking shot, but it's somebody's demise. It's someone's expense. It's someone's heartbreak.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like. I have pictures of my truck on fire. It's not cool, but you know, if it makes the number or if it blows up, either way, you have tons of attention, and that's what everybody wants. So that's what they get.
Yeah. Yeah. It made a lot of sense to me with when he talked about the challenge of it, because I'm a huge sports fan. So I think of like, and college football is one of my favorite sports. So what I was thinking in my head was kind of like when you get to that, national title game, instead of having a week to prepare for it, what if you just give the teams like a day and a half, and
Yeah,
they're
that
like,
would
okay,
show.
go
Yeah, let's
play.
go.
Yeah, let's go.
Uh-huh.
Versus,
Good luck.
the time that they have to do it. So, and it makes it more exciting, right? Like, I'm not sure if you're into sports, but you think about, okay, you have, these two programs, these two teams, they get to, game plan, they get to go through, film all this, and when they go onto the field, they know as much as they can. They have game planned as much as possible. You're going to get a great game, a great show, because they
Hmm.
have gone through all the steps. Versus, all right, you get 36 hours, go play. Well, what are you going to get?
Yeah, good luck.
How exciting is it
Yeah.
going to be?
And then you could just sit back and watch for 36 hours, watch the panic ensue and watch the preparation take place and the failures happen right and left. I mean, guys are taking trucks to this thing. Like, let me give an example. This was $100,000 weekend. I don't mean $100,000 into the vehicle. I mean to go and do and come back and be prepared and have ammunition and have weapons to fight with and still come home and pay for diesel fuel home and fuel, food, hotel, all this stuff. It's outrageous. And then we go all the way to these challenges or these events to fight one another, literally to the death of the vehicle. And guys aren't testing. They're coming up with products and combinations. They're like, oh, we never even spooled it up. I'm like, holy crap, you got all this new stuff and you've never even like made boost with it. Yeah, that'll work out really well. Trust me. You'll have all the time in the world at UCC to fix it. Yeah, okay. So you have to have a proven combination and you have to go out there and do these things to live to the end. So there are people that have done extremely well in this sport, and there are people that have struggled forever in this. And I'm the second one. I'm the struggler forever. But I know that sometime I'm going to get all three in one weekend. I had second in drag race. I had first in the dyno. I sled pulled last. Everyone already knew the stats I had to run to win first place. And they come over to me in my 10 minutes spare after getting through tech at sled pull. And they're trying to tell me, oh, you got to do, and I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Don't tell me how far I have to pull. Let me do my own thing. Let me try to run the best run I can do here. And wherever it falls is wherever it falls. I want a fair fight. So that didn't happen this year for me, but it is what it is. But I think I want to say, I don't know, how not to piss everybody off, but if you got a truck that sled pulls, drag races, and dynos better than mine, I want to see your ass at the Ultimate Call Challenge 2025. If you've ever had a bad thing to say about me or comment say or think that I couldn't do it, I want you to bring that truck and show me. Instead of running your mouth on the internet and using your thumbs when you're typing because you're so powerful, I want you to show up. And I want you to kick my ass one more time. I'll make a commitment to go to 2025 UCC on behalf that I feel it is now Unrivaled Diesel versus the diesel industry when it comes to a three-legged multiple challenge event. And I'll give you one more go around. This one I was just too close. A shift lever adjustment is not how I'm going to go out. Now my wife doesn't know about this yet. She's sitting right inside the office, so I'll just let you air this naturally when she finds out that I made the commitment that I'll go back. But I'm tired of it, and I'm ready to show it. And I want one more good fight. To be honest, I was a little bit disappointed in the competition this year. I just felt like there were a lot of really heavy hitters that no showed, and there's a whole lot of people out there that have the capability to come do this, and they're not doing it. And I don't know why. How are you supposed to beat the best if you don't get to compete with the best? Now, there was great competition. Kenny earned it. Like Kenny, 100% Capital Diesel, they earned that. They actually loaned me a torque converter to put in mine to go do sled pull. So it would have been a very spectacular finish. But Props to those guys. They earned it. But I mean, my motor still started up and drove itself on the trailer. So I don't know who's a real winner, but my truck still runs.
I think
And
that, well, I would love to
that's
see
it, I
that.
guess.
I would love to see that because that's always frustrated me with some of these competitions because they weren't tested, or you would find out they weren't tested, and you'd really be wanting to see this group or this team do
Yeah.
something, and it's like a letdown,
Hmm.
right? So, as
Hmm.
perception and trying to get me to go sit there or me to travel there or anyone to do it, like, don't let me down like right out of the gate. Like, this is just
Right.
the perception that works to get people in to
Yeah.
watch it, which is, I mean, most people, that are there, they're either, they're in the diesel industry, they have a shop or a company or whatever
Yeah.
it is don't let me down so quick. Like, let me live through the excitement and the ups and downs and see how that goes. And I would love to see that because it's been frustrating for a really long time. Maybe not seeing that or having my hopes dashed, really quick. And it
Oh
makes me
yeah. Oh
appreciate
yeah.
the competitors that do that, that do finish it,
This guy.
regardless of how they
I feel
finish.
the
And
pain.
yeah,
I feel the pain. You have to finish it. This is like a big chess match. And so many people travel from so far away to see people do good and see us fight it out and duke it out. It was this year was it was very close, the closest I've ever been, but it was only two people that made it close. How come there was no other trucks over 3,000? I mean, anybody makes 3,000 now. That's old news, right? So why aren't some of those trucks in it? Or why are some of the veterans that still have their vehicles and still can pull it off are not out here doing it? It's just it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think overall we can all do better at the Super Bowl because that's what UCC is. It's the Super Bowl. It's the one place where you can see Dan Scheid. You can see everybody like in one weekend. I mean, Levon will be there, Drew will be there, Milliken's there. All the big heavy hitters are there, and we're all on the property together. But that racetrack is like a great big divide down the middle, and I just don't understand that. Why does it have to be like that? It doesn't make sense because there's a small group of people that want to do all three things the best they can with their truck to prove that them and their team and their truck has what it takes to win. Drag race, dyno, and sled pull. Is that so much to ask for? We're not even talking about street legality here. We're talking about competition trucks with no expense spared, with 3 days to do three different things at the biggest show in the game, on the best property in the game, with everything that's perfect, like $30,000 worth of dirt for the sled pull, with a pull Friday night and a pull Saturday night, plus a pull Sunday, and then a racetrack that is prepped, that is good, that's open for 3 days, plus the dyno, the only one that matters at the event, the only one that matters. We'll come back to that one. And then there's another dyno there too. They had two dynos, and they got people on the spectator dyno that could be in the ultimate call out challenge. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me the direction it's going. There's too many side shows at this one event, not enough focus on the big show that could really draw a lot of people together over a longer period of time, as far as attention, as far as vendors selling products, as far as the industry coming together for the better of our good. The rules for UCC are different for the rules for ODSS, which are way different. Both of those are way different than the rules for sled pulling. And it's no common ground on safety or like protocol. It's very frustrating. But, I did learn one thing though. It's not talking about the dyno and Indianapolis and the dyno records. It's not that the record needs to be made on the Northwest dyno. The Northwest dyno can go anywhere in the country it wants to go, and anyone can make any number and claim that. It's that it might only count if you're with other people at the same ground at the same weekend under the same similar conditions and you're all there, because then the dyno is on one piece of property with fairly consistent weather. Across a day, you don't know, but within one day, it could be pretty consistent. Across 2 days with the rain delay we had, probably not so much. But we're all arguing over correction factor when it doesn't even matter. It's just kind of like if you're going to make a number like that, you have the opportunity to do it Friday as a spectator at UCC or Saturday as a competitor at UCC, then it's like, okay, that's now a good common grounds to agree upon. Everything else, there's too many other equations. Everyone wants to talk about correction factor. Everyone wants to talk about dyno specs. They want to talk about East Coast air, West Coast air. We're considered West Coast air in Texas. So anything I do down here, they're like, oh, West Coast air. Yeah, okay. I mean, we're our own thing. We're Texas. Like, we're not East Coast. We're not West Coast. We're our own thing. But it's not a fair comparison. So, yeah, it does need to be made at UCC. And I now understand that and agree with that. It's not that it has to be made in the UCC for the competition, but all the power claims at this level do need to be claimed on one dyno, on one racetrack, on a common date when we're all pulled together, supposed to be pulled together as a family. So that's another soapbox. I'm done with that one too now.
It was really cool. I got excited when we were talking beforehand a little bit, and like I said, it's tough to get just an honest opinion of something that some things aren't positive. Sometimes it's negative. But if nobody talks about it, if you didn't come on here and say this stuff, I wouldn't know that was going on. I only know what I see, from on an
Yeah.
app. I don't know all this stuff, and probably a lot of our listeners don't
And
either.
yeah, and I'm holding back a lot too. I mean, there's a lot of other things I really want to say, but it's now to the point of how do we take what we know and what we're doing and change it and shape it and modify it and make it better going forward. How do we've made mistakes in the past with vehicles as a competitor, with hosts as an event, and people that help coordinate the event. We've all made mistakes in this. How can we make this better and go? Because I really think, and a lot of people have told me, they think that this event is 1 year from not happening, like one bad year. If it was a 2-day rain delay and we couldn't dyno and sled pull on Sunday, which not enough people have given credit to, that's what happened. But if that rain delay went into Sunday and we didn't have dyno and sled, it would have killed the whole event. And then I know there's a lot of people that wouldn't hang around Monday, even competitors that couldn't hang around Monday to finish the event. And it would have probably killed the momentum the whole event had. And at that point, UCC would have died. It just would have been like the Indianapolis ODSS event or something. I don't know. It would have transferred to something else. And these guys that do 3-legged challenges, they just would have been dead and gone. Sorry about your luck. Go pick one of the other people to go race for. So how do we fix that? What do we do here? I'm not the one that's gonna be like barking orders. They're not my ideas. I'm not the knowledgeable one. I'm just the guy that likes to blow shit up. I try every time. I try every time.
Yeah, I think it's like I said. I think just getting it out there, talking about it. There's so many other things I could bring up over the years where somebody's come on and had a conversation about something, and they bring it up. Sometimes it's unpopular. Sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
comments aren't that great. But then I look back
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years later when it came to fruition or it changed or it happened, and now everybody's interested in it. So it's like, if we could talk about it and you can discuss these things, I think it's really crucial. It's really crucial to what you guys do. It's really crucial to the performance industry, which we've talked about that before, how things done on the track translate to what you do on a daily driver and some of the R&D and the products that come out.
100%.
And if that's not
Yep.
happening, well, how does it affect this stuff? And then also, like I talked about with perception and being a spectator, and how do you pull people in and get people interested? So this was a really really insightful conversation we had today, and it was cool to
Oh,
connect
good.
with you. And I look forward
Good.
to
I'm glad.
next year. And
Yeah.
it's 2025. I appreciate you kind of mentioning it on the podcast before anyone, including your wife, knew what your plans were for 2025 with
Yeah.
UCC, and
Yeah.
yeah, giving it one last shot. So we'll be pulling for you, and I love your approach and the things that you talked about, which needed to be said.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you and your years of continued support, friendship, and relationship. Um, next time we're out there in that direction, I'll have to holler at you and we'll go get some coffee or something. Talk about even more fun diesel goodness.
Yeah, or I go
There's
for a
plenty
ride.
of it.
I saw a video you did of I think it was a rolling burnout or second gear burnout or something, and I go for a ride in one of those, see what it feels like.
Oh yeah, that's the maroon truck. That stupid truck's my daily, and it makes 2,000. It is just so much fun. These trucks are so easy. I don't know why more people don't do it, but I get it. It's expensive, but what's cheap this day? What's fun that's cheap? Nothing.
Nothing.
You know that.
Yeah.
Everything's expensive.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate your
Yeah.
time,
Well, I
Chris.
appreciate the opportunity. As always, I'd like to give the shout out to all the peeps. Obviously, Unrivaled Diesel, my shop in Texas. They're the ones that the team of guys have got me through thick and thin. Flex Diesel Injections always had my back since day one. Absolutely love their injectors. It is hard, clean, pure diesel power. Fast fuel system has always done me well. Nitrous Express, Yukon Gear and Axle, every single one of them. OptiLube, Santra Performance, John at Muldoon's Diesel, BD Diesel Performance. There's a multitude of people that have gotten us where we are, and I appreciate all the love and support along the way, and look forward to what the future might have. Maybe we change directions. Maybe we go back to UCC and do it again. I don't care. I'm ready to go a different way, but I didn't want to really want to leave on a shift linkage adjustment. I didn't want to die like that. So I might give it one more shot. Nobody bought the sled pull setup. I had it for sale at the track. So we might as well just come back and do it again.
Don't forget, diesel fans, make sure and head on over to kershaw.kaiusa.com if you're in the market for a knife. They've got a ton of different choices for different opening mechanisms, blade steel, blade shape, different handle designs, and a whole lineup design to meet any budget. If you need something for EDC, something around the job site, around the house, they've definitely got you covered with a whole lineup. Just use code TDP40 to get 40% off MSRP at kershaw.kaiusa.com. Also, friends over at DMAX Store, I've had a great time chatting with them in the past. If you've got a Duramax, whether it's an LB7, L5P, anything in between, they've got years of knowledge and expertise in helping make those trucks run the best that they can. So if you're, get something where you want to do a build or you want to refresh it, want to make sure it's as reliable as possible, make sure and head on over to dmaxstore.com, check out what they have. If you got questions, give them a call at 877-4MY-DMAX. They'll get you hooked up with the parts that you need so you can build that dream truck. Also want to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters, Tyler Loewen at 23 Diesel, CUTTERUP, Rob, J Cole, Colby, all of our other Patreon supporters, all of you who subscribe on YouTube podcast apps, follow us on social media. We appreciate all your support here in year 8 of the Diesel Podcast and look forward to bringing you more of the content you want to hear in 2024. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.